Hey there, it's Mitzi. Welcome to my channel and happy Gladys Taber week. We are having a special celebration this week celebrating the life and work of Gladys Taber. Now, you may not have heard of Gladys Taber because I don't think that her books are in publication anymore, but you can find them out in the wild, and that's how I have found several of her books, and I'm going to talk about those in a moment. But first I want to tell you how this happened to be an author that I'm reading now. So I was talking with Elizabeth and Sonia. Elizabeth over at Lizzie Faye Loves Books and Sonia at Sonia with an I. And both of them were reading Gladys Taber. I think Sonia had started reading it and mentioned it to, I think she mentioned it in a reading sprint one night. And the way that she described Gladys Taber's work just really resonated with Elizabeth, and so she hunted down some books by Gladys Taber, and so she started reading her too, and so she sent me a message. Elizabeth sent me a message saying, have you read Gladys Taber? If not, you would love her. And she started just sending me these little tidbits of her writing, and I thought, yeah, that sounds like somebody I would like to read, but I really didn't think any more about it. Well, one of you, Debbie, one of my subscribers, sent me this book, Martha's Vineyard, Isle of Dreams by Susan Branch. And I was reading this book and I came across a section where Susan Branch moves to Martha's Vineyard in this book. And at the front you see her little cabin here and her. That's my note from Debbie. That was inside. It just dropped out. But anyway, in this book, there is this stack of books she has a picture of, and these books were left by the previous owner of this cabin where she has moved. And she's pretty much by herself. She's secluded in this cabin, and it's winter, and so she's talking in this section about this stack of books she discovered that were left by the previous owner, and she's super interested in them. Well, if you look close, there is a Gladys Taber book. It is the Best of Still Meadow by Gladys Taber. So as I'm reading this, she doesn't mention, I'm really not looking at the stack of books at that point, I'm just reading it. And then I get to the next page and it says, I put all the books I was keeping back on the shelves, setting aside an interesting looking one called The Best of Still Meadow, which I thought I might like to read. And then she continues. Well, later on she starts talking about reading that book, and it was the Gladys Taber book, The Best of Still Meadow, and she fell completely in love with Gladys Taber. So after I read that section, I was reading it one night. The next morning, I immediately contacted Elizabeth and I told her about it. I think I sent her a picture of it, that page. And I told her, yes, it's meant for me definitely to read Gladys Taber, because Sonia and Elizabeth had just been talking about Gladys Taber that month, within the few weeks that I had picked this book up. So I knew then, yes, it was meant for me to read Gladys Taber. And so I started on a hunt, because like I say, I haven't seen any books of hers, at any bookstores, and so I had to hunt her down. And so I went on eBay, and they had a few of her books for sale on eBay, and so I bought those. And then later on I was in a thrift store and I saw one of her books, so I picked it up, and I think I went back on because I was kind of watching some things on eBay, and I picked up a couple of other books too. So I have a nice stack here to talk about. But first I want to talk about Susan Branch, because she let me know that yes, Mitzi, you need to read Gladys Taber. And I love Susan Branch. When I read this last year, it was one of my favorite books last year. So again, thank you to Debbie for sending this to me. And I had read this one and the one before it, The Fairy Tale Girl, and I just love Susan Branch's writing. So if you are a fan of Susan Branch, you will be a fan of Gladys Taber, no doubt. But anyway, I went over to Susan Branch's website, and she has a page dedicated to her love of Gladys Taber, and so I wanted to read something from that page. It says, this is Susan Branch's words. It says, Gladys Taber was born in 1899 and spent her life writing about the everyday simple things in life for her wonderful Still Meadow and Still Cove books. She loved everything I love, which is why I love her. Through her eyes, we experience the passing seasons from her 1690 Connecticut farmhouse, sharing her passion for animals, gardening, cooking, and homemaking. I mean, that is Susan Branch, you know that, if you read her. Her books are filled with practical advice and her common sense view of the way things are. She also wrote for the Ladies' Home Journal in the 1930s, and then she talks about writing for Family Circle in the 1960s. And then she goes on to say, many people inherit their fondness for the writings of Gladys Taber from their mothers or grandmothers. Others discover her by accident. I found her waiting for me on a shelf of old books left behind by the previous owner of the first little house I bought on Martha's Vineyard. The book was Best of Still Meadow, where I read the words, April in New England is like first love, and fell in first love myself with Gladys. I feel like I just missed her. She died on Cape Cod at 81 years old, the year before I moved to the island. And I just found that to be full circle for me when I read this on her page. And so I will leave a link to this page on Susan Branch's website, as well as the Friends of Gladys Taber book club, which she is talking about on that page that she had joined. And I think that Elizabeth mentioned that in her video, that there was a Friends of Gladys Taber club that you can join. Now, we're having our own little Gladys Taber book club too, but this is an official book club where you can, I think it's like $20 a year to join this membership of a Gladys Taber book club. And so I'm interested in doing that as well. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that about Susan Branch and how Elizabeth and Sonia have been talking about Gladys Taber. And then I read it in that Susan Branch book within a few weeks that they had introduced me. I mean, I had never even heard of Gladys Taber. And then Elizabeth's reading me these little tidbits from where she's reading her and enjoying her. And it just sounded like my sort of book. And let me tell you, I've only started this first one, The Still Meadow Road by Gladys Taber, and I love it. So yes, she's definitely for me. And it does feel a lot like Susan Branch. So again, if you enjoy Susan Branch, I know you'll love Gladys Taber. So what I decided to do was, Sonia had read her first Gladys Taber seasonally, because she likes to read seasonal pieces. And so I decided to do the same thing. So at the very beginning of this year, I actually posted about this, that I was going to pull a few things from my shelf that were seasonal type books and read them all year long. And so that's what I've been doing with this book, The Still Meadow Road. Now, in this particular one, you have winter, and then it has the 3 months for winter. Then you have spring and summer, autumn, and then the calendar turns and it's December. So what I'm doing is I am going through and I'm just reading as the beginning of the month starts. I pick up this book and I read that section of the book, and I'm really enjoying this. I remember when I was reading the February section, we had snow, and she was talking about the snow in this book. And normally here in South Carolina, we don't have snow, but we had actually 2 different days within a week of each other of snow. And I was just so happy to have the snow, because we never have it, and to read this section of The Still Meadow Road by Gladys Taber and her thoughts about it during her winter at Still Meadow. And so it was just delightful to read and cozy up by the fireplace and read her words. And again, I've enjoyed it since, as now I am reading the April section. And I just love this. It's so much fun. So I am so thankful to Susan Branch, who has led me to Gladys Taber, as well as Elizabeth and Sonia. So I do encourage you to pick up a Gladys Taber. I'm so glad that Elizabeth came up with the idea for us to celebrate her this week. Again, it's not a readathon. We're just celebrating her work because it is a little harder to find it. But there was one of her books in my local library. So check your library and see if there's one there. And then, you know, you can go out at thrift stores and ask if maybe they've heard of Gladys Taber. They may have one that you can pick up there. So I do hope that you will come across some Gladys Taber. And I have a few here that I want to share with you. So hang on just a minute. Let me get the stack of books. And these are the books that I plan to read by Gladys Taber. Okay, so I've already mentioned the one that I'm starting with, that I'm reading right now, and that is The Still Meadow Road. And I love the look of this one. It's a beautiful copy. And there's also some little pictures and pencil illustrations in there too. And then this one is different because most of the ones I have are just her writing about her living there at Still Meadow. But this one is actually a short story collection, and it's called 1,001. And since I love short stories, I thought this one would be a fun one. And then she's on the back. I always love it when they have the author's picture on the back. So this is one that I keep meaning to pick up. So maybe this week I'll pick up this one and read a short story from this book. And then I have this one is just one of her romances. It's a fiction by Gladys Taber. The Heart Has April Too, and it's just a little paperback. And I think I found this one on eBay. And then this one I couldn't resist because Gladys Taber loved dogs, and she raised dogs there on her farm. And this is the first book of dogs by Gladys Taber, and I had to have this one. I could not resist this one because I love dogs too, and it has some really great illustrations in it. So I was excited to pick this one up. And I think that it just kind of goes through and shares like about breeds of dogs and just some facts about dogs. But again, I have not read this one. And then this one is called Still Cove Journal. This was in a lot that I had found on eBay. And then this is the one I think that Sonia started with. And after Elizabeth talked about it in her video, I thought I might need to just pick this up right now and read it too. Still Meadow Sampler. I love, this is my favorite cover out of all of them. It looks like a sampler. I just love the little stitching look of that. But in this one, I think it's set up as just spring, summer, fall, like that. So that's why I was really interested in this one. And then I have Country Chronicle. Again, this came in that lot by eBay. And then this one came in the lot as well. Especially Father. So I am thankful that I have people like Elizabeth and Sonia and you guys in my life that can lead me to these wonderful authors that I just feel connected to. It's strange that, she wrote these books a long time ago and I'm getting to read them now, and I just feel connected to her like we're kindred spirits. Everything about the way that she loves her home, the way that she loves nature and watching the animals in her yard, that's me. That sounds so much like me. And so I just feel a real connection with her, just like I do Susan Branch. So I'm thankful for the Susan Branch book. I'm thankful for Debbie even sending me the Susan Branch book. And then Elizabeth and Sonia talking about it. It's amazing how I've come across this Gladys Taber. And so I'm so thankful to be a part of this community. Again, this is just another reason to join our BookTube community, because if you're a reader, you are introduced to these authors. You just never know what book you're going to discover and what favorite book is awaiting you. So thank you to Elizabeth for deciding to have this celebration, this week-long celebration of Gladys Taber. I will leave a link to all of the details below. Go follow everyone that is participating this week. We have BookTubers as well as some accounts on Instagram that are celebrating Gladys Taber with us. So I'll put, again, all that information as well as the schedule, because we do have a live stream on Gladys Taber's birthday this Saturday. So you don't want to miss that either. And that will be on Elizabeth's channel at Lizzie Faye Loves Books. And if you haven't heard of Gladys Taber, check your local library, because there may be one of her books there, and who knows, it may be a new favorite for you too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.